Hello, all. As you guys are landing into the space, getting connected to the audio, the volume, welcome back. Welcome to our afternoon session. Joanne, Sonia, good to see you guys again. Hello. Hi, Bonnie, Jessica, Gloriana, Raylene. Wonderful to see you all. Wonderful. Welcome. We've got an incredible Divine Mirror session lined up for you all. Divine Mirror sessions. What are these sessions? These sessions are where you guys get to meet some of the most epic light leaders that I feel so honored to know or be connected to or have followed their bodies of work for so many years. And that's exactly what we're experiencing here today. We've got Zoe Davenport and Neil Gaur, two people that I have been following for probably 4, 5, 6 years. And this is one of those kind of fangirl moments to get to have both of them on here, speaking, sharing their wisdom, their unique experiences. And so, welcome. I'm going to bring up onto the screen our very first speaker, Zoe Davenport. I'm going to read her, albeit a little short bio, but just give you a little taste of her. So, Zoe Davenport is a speaker, a writer, a spiritual mentor, and she is dedicated to being a catalyst to connecting others to their highest potential and wisdom within. Beautiful, absolute perfection. Exactly what we're doing here during these 9 days. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to be here. It's been nice seeing everyone's faces as well. Good
Yeah.
evening.
Good evening for her. I think most of it, we've got people all over the world. Some people tuned in at, I think, like 3 a.m. over there. I think
Wow.
it's like 9 or 10 for you, right?
Yeah, 10.
Yeah. 10. Again, thank you so much for everyone who's choosing to tune in in times that might not be your typical masterclass active time. I appreciate you. And welcome, Zoe. Welcome to this beautiful group. We've got tons of people still flooding into the call. So as they arrive, they'll get to join in on this. So welcome.
Thank you. So good to be
Yeah.
here. It really is. Yeah.
It's so good to have you here. So what I would love to do is honestly, I would like to get to know you a little bit more. And much of what the intention of the Divine Mirror session is that we are all mirrors for each other, that we all, and that was what was really powerful for me, for even, experiences like Neil Gar, for example, witnessing these summit style events that have all of these amazing speakers. And I was newer in my spiritual journey, feeling lost and confused. And I got to hear people like you and just got lit up all over my body because it really it was people like you 6, 7 years ago that I got to listen to you speak and share your truth, your story, and what you had navigated and where you were. And I felt hope. I felt inspiration.
Hmm.
I felt something that I had not felt in so long. And I was like, oh my goodness, all of them too. Okay, that's possible for me. And that's really what I love about these Divine Mirror sessions is wherever anyone might be, my prayer is that they can find hope and inspiration in you and your story.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, I just want to share that I don't, most of us don't necessarily set out on a mission to be on stage or to be speaking or to be out in the world. I think most of us would quite comfortably be hidden behind the scenes, and it was a necessary part of um, the journey to bring these messages out into the world and to share, our stories, and to for it to serve and support others in that way. So my job is done. Thank you. That's really beautiful to
Yeah.
receive, truly, because I think it's a long journey that we're on, in
Mhm.
this physical incarnation. And the stories of others do give us hope, and they do uplift us, and they do
Mhm.
help us to remember that there is grace on the other side of the those more challenging moments of life when we're awakening. So yeah,
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Yeah. What is there anything, because there's so many beautiful aspects of your story and your journey, and you're still living it every single day. Is there anything that feels in this moment like something that maybe wants to be shared that you maybe have navigated, that again, that this group can maybe feel and see themselves in you and what you've overcome?
Hmm. So I read a quote yesterday, and it's the first time I've read this by Mother Teresa. And I don't know if you all know this, but Mother Teresa and Lady Diana died on the same day.
Mm.
And they, unfortunately, because obviously the hype around Princess Diana was far greater, Mother Teresa never really got that kind of media spotlight for the work that she had done. And she wrote a quote. So this came up on something I was reading yesterday, and it said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. And that hit to the core
Mm.
of my being. And the last kind of 12 to 15 years since I've been on this, I guess, a more conscious awakening journey, or trying to figure it out, whether I'm awakening or not, who knows? But I'm on the path. And quite often with that, we wish to sometimes separate ourselves from those family dynamics. And then we go into that real deep work of the mother wound, the father wound. We look at clearing the ancestral traumas, and we do that really deep soul work on this planet. So the more that we are awakening, the higher, the greater the capacity we have of that soul work. And then the greater capacity we have to hold that frequency of that galactic work that comes through us, because our nervous systems are regulated. And we are then still bouncing and feeding this back to the family. So the last 4 to 5 years for me, even though I've been living abroad, I've made a very conscious effort to come back to my homelands at least once a year, connect with the homelands, and to also connect with that father, that mother dynamic of the human, my earth family. And last year we received news of my mum going into palliative care. And so what I did was I put everything on pause and went home and was her carer, her full-time carer, for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I'm not exaggerating. That's what
Wow.
that's what I was doing. And this is someone that I've never been close to. There has been so much trauma embedded in our relationship, but the work that I have done internally over these last few years has allowed me to see the family in a much different way, and just nothing but love, nothing but compassion, nothing but awareness and understanding. And I'm sure those of you that have been on this path have noticed that actually even the family starts to shift the more you shift. There's a really interesting thing that happens where you're not having to have these long drawn out conversations. We're not having to have the family see us for who we are, because we know that our truth and our light is with source, is with God. And so this journey with my mom was basically being her death doula through this journey and helping her to transition. And then in the process of that, the purification after her death of touching every single physical item that my mother owned. And she was a hoarder, so she had a lot of stuff, and physically touching everything and finding joy in the organizing and the restructuring of it, and gifting things away and allowing her items and her artwork to be enjoyed by those around her. So I'm only just starting now to come out of that journey with the family, but it has been left at a point where I am the closest I've ever been to the family, to the human family. And it's like they have shifted their judgment of me. They have shifted their expectations of me. They have shifted their awareness of me. And there is a harmony that is through that. And so I don't know if any of you, when you lose your birth mother in this physical incarnation, it's probably one of the biggest death experiences that we will go through, because our birth mothers birthed us into being. She birthed us into life, and she birthed us into this physical incarnation. So no matter the difficulties of that relationship, which quite often daughter mother relationships can be quite challenging anyway, let alone that spiritually awakened spiral, let alone we're trying to shift and heal and release and reprogram at a cellular level generational trauma. There is something very, 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 very expansive and magical in coming back to source with that mother line and healing it on all levels. So that is probably what is most present for me at this point. And it's probably was one of the most challenging, humbling experiences of my life. And it has also given me a lot more compassion for the people of this world that are in care positions, that are in nursing positions, that are in teaching roles. And, you know, I think sometimes when we have a lot of energy that we're shifting out of, right, we expand into these high states of frequency and we kind of become, I'm going to use this word because it's true, we kind of become slightly disassociated with the realness of reality because the ego is so wanting to be in that higher frequency. It's so wanting to be in that expanded fifth dimensional consciousness that sometimes we forget the humanness, thank you, and we forget the compassion. And so in Mother Teresa's quote, to bring this loop back to full circle, if you want to heal and change the world, love your family. And so we come back into that spiral to love our family as we can love ourselves with deeper depths. And I'm not saying that you have to go and live with your family. I'm not saying that you have to go and do what I did and be by your mother's deathbed every single day and to take on that role. Everyone has a different journey with this, but we can do this internal work. We can do this releasing and separation of expectations of what we wanted to receive from that mother father role and the family role, because when we're plugged in direct to source, that is our mother, that is our father, mother Gaia, father sky, right? There's all that intertwining energy, and we're balancing that feminine and masculine energy within ourselves, which activates that double helix spiral, which then the byproduct, the side part of that is that we are expanding into those higher states of consciousness and we are able to help with greater depths and levels. So I'm yet to foresee the expansion that's starting to happen as a result of these last kind of 6 months to a year. But I'm starting to kind of like taste it, almost like I'm starting to taste the new energies as I'm starting to get more energy flowing through. And so it's very easy to have a strong spiritual practice. It's very easy to read books. It's very easy to listen to interviews like this. It's very easy to, do activations. It's very easy to go and sit in the jungle and drink cacao. It's very easy to go on retreats. Sometimes that real soul work, which inevitably is that catalyst that we're looking for to elevate, to quantum leap forward into our desires, is that groundwork. It's that service work. It's that humbling work. And it's the integration of compassion. And compassion is not taught enough in spiritual communities. I've been to huge events where everyone's talking about love and light and expansion and multidimensionality. 80,000 people are tuning in and there's no compassion. And I put my hand up. I'm like, we have to anchor and integrate compassion, because that is the piece that humbles us enough to be on this real deep soul work.
What does compassion mean? No, I wanted to, I heard the question, what does compassion mean to you? I would love to.
Compassion to me is having compassion for myself and compassion for others. And the abilities, because empathy is, oh, I feel your pain. Compassion is, let me give you a hand. That's how I see it. And also compassion for myself and my journey and compassion for others. But empathy is, I feel your pain. Compassion is, let me give you a hand.
I love that.
And so we talk about the leaders of this world. We talk about us stewarding and pioneering this new earth. And so the compassion piece is, let's give a hand. Let's come back into this reality and see where we can be truly of divine service. Yeah, it was a lot to share.
It was so beautiful. It was so good. It was I was like, yes, please just share. It was so much came up for me around that share too, that something that I've noticed in my own personal life and the people that I'm so blessed to serve, my friends, all alike, there seems to be over the last couple of years an invitation for the initiations like you just mentioned. It sounds like what you experienced with your mother in and of itself was an initiatory period of deep, profound healing. And I'm noticing that a lot of people are moving back in with parents. They are perhaps becoming caregivers. There's it's almost like this perfect storm, this divine orchestration of these opportunities for us to go deeper with the family and to and whatever that may offer. And I really feel, for me personally, with my family, I didn't have a lot of childhood memories, and so when I moved back home, a lot of that came back online, and I got to all of a sudden see how they operate in a way that I was like, oh my goodness, okay, now I remember. So yeah, I feel like there's sounds like it was an initiation in and of itself, what you underwent, and now you're in the integration, and okay, now what and how do I carry this out into the world?
Yeah. We have the invitation to reparent our parents through the reparenting of ourselves and in the care of them and in the care and compassion of others on this planet. And we also have the invitation to reparent this timeline, to rewire, restructure, recalibrate what it is that we are doing together as a collective consciousness. And we're at a choice point right now, which we've been talking about for the last 15, 20 years, of this timeline shift, of this timeline split, of literally reality going in two separate directions. And it can be really discombobulating for empath sensitives, people like us that are kind of vibrating in and out of these different frequency tones, to know where the grounding is, to know where the place is, where the home is. And we have not created that yet. And so the grounding and the foundation is anchoring into those higher frequencies. And that is what will stabilize our physical vessel in order to hold true to that timeline that we are wanting to align to. So it's effortless. It's not trying to, and I see this all the time, like people wanting to be in 5D, and what do I do to be in 5D? And oh, I feel so dense today. Oh, I've got to do my mundane human stuff, and I'm back in 3D. It's like, let go of the labels and the rules and the judgments around time and space, and allow yourself to be fluid, allow yourself to be like water, allow yourself to be crystallized in nature as you allow your heart to open to the compassion piece, to the humanity, right? And it's quite easy, and a lot of people do this as well, is to switch off from the compassion of humanity, to kind of bury the heads in the sand and this belief system, oh, we've ascended to a different dimension, therefore, that doesn't exist. Well, it does. Everything exists on different multiple threads of consciousness. And we as a collective awakened energetic field have the capacity to hold that, should we so choose. And so that's our choice point at the moment. So we can either awaken and reawaken to humanity through compassion, or we can close off to it, but we will be kind of stuck between those two timelines. So that's kind of what's happening in 2025, especially with March. These energies have gone quite direct, and particularly for the next, 12 to 14 months, this is preparation time, right? And this is time to really do that inner work, but really show, like, how can I be of service? How can I serve? How can I have a greater capacity of love to flow through my heart to help myself and others in my vicinity? And even if it is just connecting to a stranger and letting him feel, or her feel, your divine essence. Maybe it's opening a door for somebody. Maybe it's paying for somebody's groceries. Maybe it's letting someone out in traffic. It's the little details, it's the little things that we can do that does start to make that impact.
I really love that you brought in the small stuff, because I think it relates so much to what you've been sharing, is that many people go upon their awakening journey and then they want to serve and support others. They want to leave the 3D world and they're like, I'm going to go be a coach. I'm going to go be a mentor. I'm going to be a Reiki practitioner. And there's this almost form of, again, escapism away from, I need to get away from that, because that's not, instead of what I feel that many of us are being guided to do, it's make change in those spaces. Don't run from them because they don't vibrationally feel like a match. Become the vibration in which you want to see in those spaces, and then embody that and share that. It doesn't, and yes, we do need people of service, and we do need people that have great care and compassion and a desire to serve and support others navigating difficult, challenging times. But in and of itself, that can be, I think, a form of escapism or a form of even bypassing, right? We may know we are one with God, everything is happening for a reason and a purpose. But then if something happens that feels is not what you prefer and you feel frustrated or angry, saying, nope, it's meant to happen, it's meant to be, but not actually feeling the human experience, and that in and of itself is a form of bypassing. So yeah, I'm noticing just the parallels of what you're sharing and the tendencies of our collective, our awakening collective.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone is, am I allowed to read the comments?
Please. Yes.
Okay, great. Because someone was saying, isn't compassion, I forgive everything and I recognize everyone is doing their best under the circumstances, and offering assistance is helping others. Yes, it's just a different way of explaining it. So I just wanted to share that my version of understanding compassion is by offering that hand, as opposed to empathy is I feel your pain. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I think sometimes what happens on this journey is we get so caught up in these labels of, empath, empathy. Oh, I can't go to public spaces. Oh, I can't go into hospitals. We start to tell ourselves all these stories and these beliefs, right? Which is part of what your summit is about, is these limitations and these beliefs. And like, what are the stories that we're telling ourselves, right? It's like, oh, actually, I have capacity to serve. I have capacity to go into places because I'm expanding my energy field. I'm expanding my energy field for people to feel that divine radiance, that divine love, that divine light. And if I'm being affected by those around me, then my aura is not expanded. I'm closed. My heart is closed. I'm ungrounded, right? And so it's very easy to expand yourself. It's actually harder to be in a state of contraction. It's actually easier to be in our expanded state. And we can do this multiple times a day by just connecting into the earth, opening that crown and feeling that energy run through us and imagining yourself just open, 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 open. Even if you're in a traffic jam, yes, it's annoying, it's frustrating, like everyone else is frustrating, there's too many people with the cars, sure, but here we are, right? Use it as a teaching moment for self. How could this be the most abundant, beautiful, mesmerizing experience you've ever had sat in a car? Maybe there's some affirmations that you can put on the radio. Maybe there's an amazing song that just gets you into that higher sweet spot where that heart opens and it sends shivers down your spine. Maybe you start blowing kisses at drivers. I did this the other day. This guy let me out and I just blew him a kiss and he kind of double took. He's like, what's she doing? I'm like, I'm just sharing the love. I'm sharing the love. Because there's in England, we have this thing when you're driving, and if someone's let you out, you just put this lazy finger up, like this little, yeah, thanks, thanks for that. So he was really sweet for letting me out. So I just blew him a kiss and carried on driving. Right. I know it's slightly flirtatious and it's very silly, but
so sweet.
The point is about we have the capacity to shift our state of consciousness in any given moment, irrespective of where we are, who we're with, and how we're feeling. It's always a choice point. It's always a choice. And when we are connecting daily, shifting and reminding ourselves of how to connect in, how to plug in, how to shift our frequency, when we're doing that belief work and we're doing those affirmations, it works when we're in that capacity of receptivity. It works when we're in that capacity of an open heart. It works when we're in that space of an open vessel. Right? When we're in a closed, contractive state of consciousness and we're doing our beliefs and our meditations and yada, 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 it's not going to work, right? Because we're in a cross belief system. We're closed off to the receptivity of what we're telling ourselves. It's like, oh, I'm telling myself these affirmations to try and get in a better energy and I'm feeling really low frequency right now. Well, maybe just give up for a minute. Maybe just go for a walk and stop trying to do yourself into a higher frequency. Just allow yourself to be in that state of consciousness and into that higher state.
Yes, yes, yes. Again, not we get uncomfortable and we want to get out of the uncomfortableness. We feel the contraction and we're like, oh, something's wrong. I need to feel expansive again. I need to fix this. There's something wrong if I'm not feeling my bubbly love and light self. And that I really feel the alchemy is in the allowance of the crunchy. Yes. And I'm sure you probably experienced plenty of that over the last, how long were you caring for mom?
I mean, she's been sick for a long time.
Okay.
She was sick for a long time, for 7.5 years, but particularly from September to December.
Yeah. Wow. So
every day.
That is I'm sure I can't imagine it was an easy choice for you. And yet,
No.
probably one that you had to recommit to every single day.
Yeah, there were moments where the ego wanted to not do it anymore because it was extremely challenging. And I just kept tuning into my heart and knowing that I am here for that service.
Mhm.
And so, ironically, I normally have a very strong practice of, practicing my spirituality, practicing my meditation, my affirmations, reading my books, doing all the things. And during that time period, I had a very, very, very like limited bandwidth. And so when I wasn't in service, I was sleeping. And so that was my practice, was to make sure that I got as much sleep. I made sure that I got water. And I had probably sometimes like 30 minutes a day, if that. So I would go
Wow.
next door to the gym and get a little mini workout in. And that was my practice without fail. So no matter what happened in the day, if I could get that little bit of time, I would go and do that. And so, sometimes life throws massive curveballs, and we can kind of get consumed in those curveballs, and we can think, oh my gosh, I need to keep my vibration high, and we overthink and overanalyze. Just take a breath, surrender into the experience, lean into the experience, lean into that uncomfortability, and feel into, okay, what do I have capacity for? What do I have the bandwidth for? What can I do, even if it's like a little tiny thing, even if it's 10 mindful breaths of a day, then that's you connecting. And that's far more powerful and potent than trying to do all the things at the same time. And I think I've seen this as well over the last 10 years, especially with clients, is there's almost like this anxiety that they haven't done enough, that they're not doing enough, that they're not being spiritual enough, that they missed a meditation. It's like, it's actually far more powerful if you just connect into the light 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 times a day and open your heart and just take a moment to ground.
Mm-hmm.
It takes less than 20 seconds than if you have to do the 6-hour practice in the morning before you can see the world, right?
Yeah.
Our jobs right now is to be on the ground. We are the earth angels. We are here to show up in spaces, places, with people, to bring that love, to be the bridges, to bring that energy of this new earth consciousness. And it is rolling our sleeves up and getting here. And I'm not saying that it has to be challenging. I'm not saying that it has to be hard. It's hard if we tell ourselves. I mean, there is nobody that would have done what I did for my mother last year. And even the nurses that were coming in were like, we do not see this. This does not happen with family. But I had the joy with doing that because I was in service, and I knew that this dying person, that was her wish, was to be at home. And the only way that that could be possible was for me to be there, to be with her, and to manage everything so that her nervous system could relax into the process of dying, that her nervous system could relax into the knowing that she is taken care of, that everything that she needed was there because I was that support for her. And there is something deeply, deeply, deeply nourishing in that experience for me in particular, because it was with my mum, that it got me out of this almost like some of these illusions that I've perhaps been carrying for the last 10 years around consciousness and energy, because I had this unlimited amount of energy that kept coming in. And, most people, they would be so tired. I'm like, where is this coming from? I've had 2 hours sleep. Where is this energy coming from? Oh, thank you. It's alignment. It's true service. There is so much. And I think thank you. This is something else to add to this thread, is sometimes we get complacent, or we get worried that, or we don't want to do too much because we don't want to fatigue ourselves, and make sure that we're keeping our spiritual practice strong. It's like, no, that there is so much more energy for us when we're in alignment to that service piece. It's infinite. You just tap in all day long. It just comes in.
What I also love what you shared too is, and what I perceived, it's really easy to be expansive and bubbly and sparkly and shiny when we are doing practices for 5 hours and we're at home. it's a lot more challenging, and true mastery comes when you are able to now carry that into the wild crazy world of traffic, of your 3D workplace, of our family relationships. And that's where we really get to be mirrored back, and we really anchor in our mastery is and that's the boots on the ground, that's the ground crew, that's us going out and being those beacons of light and offering the blowing a kiss and that smile and that wave.
Yeah. And it's a choice. We chose to get
Yeah.
in the car and take that journey on that given day. And so did loads of other people. So what
Mm-hmm.
are we going to do? Are we going to feel like overwhelmed and contracted in that experience? Are we going to use it as a learning? Are we going to use it as an opportunity to test ourselves at a
Mm-hmm.
cellular level in
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, to expand and shift the experience that we're having? Because we have control over reality when we no longer think that reality is controlling us, right? So it's coming from us, it's coming through us. And you can't shift the traffic jam. Sure. I mean, you ask your angels for a car parking spot. We all seem to have mastered that one. Well done, everyone. Congratulations. I'm always so pleased. I'm like, yes, I can manifest when the car parking space opens up. But what do
Parking
we
angels
do?
working overtime.
Exactly. But what do we do with the traffic jam? It's not like the Moses is going to part the seas
Yeah.
of the cars. We have to surrender into the experience of where we're at, right? And these are the choice points. And life is challenging, life is
Mm-hmm.
tricky. And sometimes when life happens, we can have this belief system that we're not in a high enough frequency, and that's why these things are happening. And
Mm-hmm.
that is also a part of that bypassing program. No, there's really deep richness and medicine in the experience. And sure, we can analyze what's happening for us from different perspectives. We can analyze the experience on the ground through our higher self. We can analyze it through our higher mind. We can analyze it through our higher heart, through our heart. We can analyze it through our light team, our guides, our angels, however you want to describe beings that are here to support us. And we can analyze it through our body, through our intuition, right? And we can look at it through all these different perspectives and go, okay, actually, what is happening at a cellular level? What is happening energetically behind the scenes? Thank you. So that we are not a victim of the circumstance. We are merely an observer, thank you, of the circumstance. And the observation piece is what helps take us out of that physical density of the experience that is manifesting it. And we can look at it through the eyes of the observer, which then we get that deeper clarity and insights and wisdom. Thank you.
I love them. They're so spot on because that's all that we were talking about earlier this morning. Everything in that last couple of sentences, and becoming the observer and really recognizing that everything is happening in our favor. And even when it comes to traffic, I was talking to Tom Moore, one of the other speakers. He said, and he just clearly goes, when we are in traffic, there's a reason. You're meant to be near all of those people. And I tuned in and I started to see it as like an energetic exchange. Literally, our fields are meant to be close to each other for an information exchange that is taking place. So there's so much happening beyond our human 3D perception. And I love that, the zooming out of the lens and being able to perceive that there's an incredible divine orchestration beyond what we recognize.
Absolutely. A funny visual that's coming through at the moment is, and this is probably a multi-billion-dollar business idea. So if any of you come up with this, I'm patenting it right now in the etherical realms. There was a film years ago called They See or They or something or other. And it was about this guy that he got these like special viewing glasses and he put them on and then he could see all of the billboards and the media and the magazines where it says, obey, buy this, you're not enough, and go on this holiday. And then he sees these kind of almost like these strange creatures that are dressed up as humans, right? And he takes the glasses off again and it looks like everyone's like normal, right? How about these special magical glasses that you put them on and it activates your third eye and opens your heart instantly, and you are able to see the hologram for what it is? Now, guess what? You have these magical special glasses. They're just etherical. So whenever you want to see beyond reality and you want a deeper awareness of what's happening, put on your etherical glasses and imagine that being activated straight away and start to see, practice this, start to see the hologram for what it is. This is actually something that I'm going to be teaching later this year is a full third eye activation program with like really deep practices and techniques. So this is maybe one of the classes that we can classes for the glasses that we can go through. So imagining that you're putting on these glasses. So also when you're in these moments of life, so we'll bring it back to the traffic jam again, because this is a great analogy, right? You're sat in a traffic jam, like, okay, what is my purpose here? So imagine yourself, like literally visualize, like pretend you're putting on the glasses, like, okay, what am I to see? And imagine you're seeing the hologram and you're visually seeing the hologram, but also you are hearing, seeing the hologram, you are feeling, you are tasting, you are sensing. So it activates all of these parts of you. And have this as a game. Maybe try this a few times a day. And what will happen is you will actually start to get a deeper awareness of what's happening, and you will start to see, right? So imagining these beautiful glasses. I wish I could actually design the technology. That would be pretty cool, right? It's kind of like
and what's funny is I just saw, have you ever seen the ones where they actually do have third eye glasses? You can get them on like Etsy where there's
yeah.
three.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
saw like rose colored ones. Every time when you said
Love
that,
it.
like putting on these rose colored, like pink
Yeah.
tinted, rose
Love it.
colored third eye glasses. And it's like, all
Love
right.
it. Love it. Love it. Yeah. So we can imagine we're putting on these like special glasses, and what do we see? Right.
What do we
And
perceive, and beyond the seeing, which I love that you brought that in, right? It's not
yeah.
just the seeing. Let's perceive through all of our senses, inner and outer.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Amazing. And I love Neil dropped it into the chat. Neil Gaur, he said They Live. That was the name of the movie.
Oh yeah, I knew
They
he'd know that
Live.
one.
Does it feel expansive to guide an experience, or does it feel most expansive to just kind of continue on in the conversation? What feels good to you?
Let's give a show of hands in the chat. Who would like a little mini transmission? And if we get a few yeses, then we can do.
Like that.
I think so. How are we doing on time? Okay, we've got a little bit of space. We'll do a little 3-4 minute tune up or something. Yes. All right, we've got two yeses.
The other thing I really what I love too that you shared is that we don't have to have a 5-hour spiritual routine every day to be in the magic and experience and learning of life. It almost sounds like you were more energized in your soul service to your mama. And it also sounds like it became your practice. It became that in and of itself was your spiritual work. And I really love that, because I think we get so rigid and hard on ourselves, as you were sharing. So for whatever reason, that wanted to just be spoken into in the event that somebody was thinking that they needed to have a 5-hour practice every day to be the most spiritual person that they can be.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, there's been a 15-year window of self-development in order for me to do that for my mum. Right. However, during the time, yes, there was good energy coming in. And it ironically, actually, it's only been since March 1st, since the energies have gone direct, that I've been waking up and getting back into that little morning routine again. And it feels like, okay, now that chapter has completed, and now it's time to move back into that online service. So this is actually the first time I've talked about that experience of the last 6 months. So that was really nice to share, because we didn't know what we were going to talk about either. And I was like, I'm sure it's going to come in. And I actually didn't know that it was going to be about my mum and sharing. So that's beautiful. Yeah, thank you
so much for sharing what you've been navigating. I think it's really helpful for everyone here who, again, we think, oh, expansion, now it's just going to be easy, smooth sailing for the rest of this lifetime, right? And yet we have these waves, these undulations, these cycles, these rhythms that we fall into, and there's always, and we get to do more work. Like we get to.
Exactly. There's a really great card in the Osho Zen pack, and it's called Success. And it's this guy riding a tiger with a ticker tape parade. And the idea of the card is to celebrate really celebrate those moments where you feel up, you feel expanded, you feel you're on fire, you feel like just everything's just go, 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 right? But then sometimes we have the opposite of that, because we live in duality, we live in polarity in this earth plane. And so when you're in those moments of success, really embrace that. And then when you are in the opposite of that, be okay with that as well, because that is life. And sometimes I can see this, especially with people I've worked with over the years, is we give ourselves a hard time when we feel we're not in that space of success, right? We're not riding that tiger with the ticker tape parade. There is deep soul nourishing personal growth in all of the perspectives and experiences of reality. And that is what makes up the unique humanness of who we are. And yes, the more we expand and when we come back into these experiences of life, challenges of life, sickness, health, people dying, etc., we're able to hold more of a good solid energy. So it's not as kind of yo-yoing as up and down, but remember to embrace those moments where you kind of perceive it to be down, because there is medicine and such richness in that joy as well. Right. Let me stop talking so we can finish up this little segment with a little journey then. So, okay. So when you're ready, just closing your eyes and taking some cleansing breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. As we integrate all of the beautiful messages and conversations that came through in this now moment. Feeling the elevation of consciousness within who you are, your being, feeling your heart. Sending your physical body some love through your breath. So breathing in love into every single part of you. And breathing out, allowing yourself to feel grounded all the way down into that crystalline core of the earth. Feeling into the wisdom of you, your divine radiance and magic, and all the incredible gifts that you have for this world. Just by being you, just showing up exactly who you are. Setting an intention for a clear pathway to open up before you with direct messages and guidance, giving you crystal clear clarity on your journey, that it is so obvious the steps to take, the road that you are on. And feeling your heart opening and expanding, feeling your aura opening all around you, opening up, expand, expand, expand. And with those beautiful fifth dimensional, all-seeing special glasses, they are your unique gift that you get to put on anytime you wish to see and observe and witness more about yourself. Understanding greater depths of your path, your past, and who you are becoming. In your expanded aura, imagining a beautiful rose gold energy on the outer edges of your aura. This beautiful protective seal of light encoded consciousness. That everything that enters into your space is of alignment for your highest good. And all energies that are not here for the highest good to go home and evolve, to be released from your field. To allow this new pathway to open up. It is done. Taking a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And when you're ready, just slowly bringing your awareness into the physical world again. Opening up your eyes, feeling yourself in this moment, giving yourself a big hug, connecting to that beautiful being of who you are, knowing you can always come back to this place to remind yourself of your wisdom and your magic, your love, your beauty, and your radiance. Others.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys, as
Mm.
she shared, a simple practice like that 20, 30, 40 times a day, I call it micro alignments. That can be the most powerful thing you do all day.
Love
Thank you
it.
so much, Alondra. If you will please drop all of her links into the chat so everybody can connect with Zoe from here. There's a couple of free offerings. She's got a free gift, a rainbow light meditation. And then if you go to her website, it looks like there's a subconscious reprogramming masterclass workshop of some sort as well. So lots of generous ways to get um, to dip your toe into her work. And if you've known her and followed her for many years as I have, then yeah, it sounds like you're going to get to see more. We're going to get to see more of you in the coming year, which is really exciting.
Mm. Thank you so much. This was a real blessing and a gift to be here. And I know you'd invited me last year and the dates didn't quite line
Yeah.
up. So it was really nice that this worked out this time. So
I'm
thank you.
so glad and so deeply grateful it did. And again, it is between you. We've got Zoe Davenport, and then right after next, Neil Gaur. The two of you again have been. I've known and followed your work for so many years, and it's genuinely an absolute honor to have you guys here and to get to have a conversation with you and to have you be such a soulful yes to this offering that's been birthed through me. So thank you so incredibly much. I
Oh,
appreciate you.
my pleasure. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. This has been so lovely. Yeah, amazing. All the best. Bye bye.
Bye. Sleep so sweet. Yeah. Awesome. We're going to remove spotlight. Wonderful. Yes. Yes. Let me find our dear brother Neil over here now. Let me go over to the gallery so I can bring you up, brother. There you are. I see you. Let's add that spotlight. Perfection. You look wonderful. So handsome. You are muted. Let me unmute you. Welcome.
Hey, Lacey. Thank you for having
Hi.
me.
Such
Thank
a
you for inviting me.
pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to read your bio. So, if anyone here does not yet know you, that they can get a little taste into who you are before we get started. So, this amazing galactic, cosmic, multidimensional being is the founder of Portal to Ascension, which is a conscious event production company that he created in 2008. And it hosts a wide range of presenters on a variety of topics, such as the origins of humanity, the existence of extraterrestrial life, and exposing hidden truths and exploring the nature of reality. Neil is a philosopher, historian, researcher, and spoken word artist. He presents his research on the ancient wisdom of future science of sound, vibration, and frequency, as well as in-depth explorations into ancient civilizations, archeological discoveries, space anomalies, and shedding light on hidden esoteric wisdom, exploring ways in which we can truly create unity and peace on earth. You do and offer so many things, and I'm just infinitely grateful for the vast amount of wisdom that you embody and share so
Mm.
generously on Portal to Ascension. Thank you.
Thank you, Lacey. I've been looking at, well, following your work for a while too on Instagram. So I really love everything you're doing. I felt so honored that you invited me as well. And I'm so happy that I got to go after Zoe because I shared in the text message, she's my best friend.
Yeah.
She says at the end of I've had her on many conferences. She spoke at my two live conferences in Glastonbury. She always says, I don't know what I'm going to speak about before, when she's going to go on stage, but she always is just so on point. And just to speak on her a little bit more, like I knew that the experience that she was going to go through, and we talked about this, was definitely going to just take her to a whole new level of her expansion, and it was beautiful just to be here and witness, what level she's been going to through having to take care of her mom for the last few months.
Yeah, she shared with me too. We got to connect a little bit before we hopped on the call. She goes, "That's my bestie." I was like, "That's what he said." So, no surprise, just the beauty of the divine orchestration that the two of you would be on the same call this
Exactly.
morning. I know. And it is really special to get to hear what she's been navigating. And I think so many people here, and I could see the chat just blow up and people relating to that journey. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's special to you guys have so much wisdom and we could literally sit here for, years and
Uh-huh.
listen to and absorb the channel that both of you are. And also there's just something really sweet and special about getting to hear the personal stories and the things that we navigate that aren't that easy, that aren't that love, light, expansive, shiny, Tulum party type of experience.
That's so funny because that's where we met in Tulum.
The good old Mexico Tulum.
But that's why I resonate with her, just to like piggyback on where she was sharing.
Yeah.
I've been going through a lot of transformations in the last year and last 3 years, really, because I separated from my ex-wife 3 years ago. And the first year, I was just like, oh my God, I'm free, on some level. And I was just going around the world every 2 weeks in a different country, exploring, and a lot of distractions from my new life. And then about a year ago, started slowing down, realizing traveling the world so much and moving around, I didn't get to make deep contacts, the connections. I felt very lonely. And then all of a sudden, all these emotions came to me, being in this relationship for 10 years and now being out of it. I had identified with what our relationship was. I'd merged into that personality, and now it's like a whole new self-discovery for myself, which is a reflection of Portal to Ascension of who do I really feel like I am and what I'm trying to bring into the world. And what Zoe is saying is not only on point for her, but it's also for the collective consciousness right now, because the last year represented hardcore shadow work with a dragon energy, right? But we had the masculine wood dragon, which is that fire, fearsome, bring it out to the surface. I don't give a crap. You're gonna have to deal with this energy, right? Personally, and then also collectively, because we saw things like P. Diddy, for example, that's even part of the dragon year, right? And this year, we're in the snake. And the snake energy is a 2 year shadow work aspect, but now we're in the feminine snake, and this feminine snake is what does a snake do? It sheds its skin, right? But it sheds its skin effortlessly. And what does it see when it sheds its skin? It realizes it was beautiful and intact underneath all along, right? And that's what we really are in the process of doing, I feel, stepping into a greater understanding of ourselves and our own authenticity. But we're teeter-tottering in two worlds of what we feel like we've created for ourselves and identified with, and what we are going to be stepping into. And I'm kind of like that too. It's almost like we're in the event horizon, and there's comfort in the old, right? And there's really when you go through the wormhole, you're entering the unknown, and that's what we all need to step into is that curiosity of the unknown rather than the fear of it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Now I'm really curious in this transitionary period and kind of this reevaluation that you've been undergoing. What is calling you forward? What is it lighting you up? What is exciting you? How are you feeling called to show up in service?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I have an astrologer and she does my annual astrology on my birthday last year in November. And she did my astrology and she said, there's a lot of things that are going to be shifting for you. And here are some dates. January 1st was the one date. March last week was another date for something you with Uranus was something shifting with that. And another one was in July, right? And then so I put these dates in my calendar and I realized because with Portal to Ascension, I map out 2 years of events
Mm,
once, right? With an event every week almost, sometimes two in a weekend.
wow.
And things shift, but most of the time it's pretty on point. But I had already said this year I'm not going to do any live events. I'm only going to do in-person online events. And I'm going to, for the first time in 2016 is since 2016, I haven't taken a break.
Mm,
It's been nonstop production. And when I'm done with one thing, honestly, to be honest, my childhood traumas have made it in a way that I can't stop being productive. I just can't take a moment to just breathe sometimes and be.
mm.
So I was like, well, how do I throw a wrench into that system and how do I shift from it? Well, let me schedule some actual breaks from Portal to Ascension and get away from the fear because I've
Awesome.
had this fear about if I stop, I'm gonna lose everything. you know? And if I stop, everything is going to pass me by and I'm not going to be there for it, right? And so as these things have come to the surface and some deep underlying childhood traumas have been surfacing the last couple of years, I decided to take a break in February for no events and another break in July for 4 months. And my astrologer was saying that June 29th, there's going to be a career shift for me where I'm going to want to bring something else into the world. And I'd already scheduled the day, 2 days after that, a 4 month break. And there's no career shift. So to get back to your question, the career shift is transformational workshops on a deeper level like never
Mhm.
before. You
Mhm.
know, we do a lot of information. We do things on ancient history, a lot of that. Much information. About 60% of our platform is on extraterrestrials and, a connection to star beings. But what I feel like bringing into the world right now is the understanding and exploration of what darkness is in relation to light and the
Mm.
connection of the two. So Zoe is actually one of the speakers, one of the six guests in my Shadow Workers course that's starting in August. And so I want to go deeper into how do we reconcile with the darkness? Because what we've done so much is, and as Zoe shared, and we started with this conversation, we pushed away the darkness so much. And when we see atrocities, we almost like, oh my God, how could they? We're disgusted by it. And I understand there are certain atrocities that are so like out of your scope of even realizing why would they even happen. But at the same time, this is all a part of creation. Creation started in a way where all experiences are valid. The universe wanted to experience everything. And maybe unfortunately for some, even the darkest of experiences are valid within that. You know, and an analogy I like to give is that when the singularity, like the oneness, the singularity, split into duality, right? So in metaphysics, you have oneness. In quantum physics, you have singularity. Same thing. When it split into duality, it eventually became darkness and light, eventually, as it coalesced. Do you think the oneness and the singularity loved one part of itself more than the other? Or did it love both parts of itself equally?
Mm.
Right. So what I want to bring more and what we're doing is we have a darkness and light conference. We just did a 2 day conference that ended yesterday on Orion and the darkness and light and the galactic wars in Orion. And so what I'm doing is, I guess, shedding light on that shadow part of ourselves, including the reptilian agenda and who the Dracos are and all of that, and showing it from a different perspective where you start realizing that hurt people, even when
Mhm.
it comes on the galactic scale, and even when it comes to people on Earth that are doing these atrocities. They were once children as well, and things
Yeah.
happened to them that led them to the life that they're in.
I love that so much because that really is such a foundational piece of what we're doing here within the I am activation. Day one is I am source, I am God, I am the creator. But it's not last year, I took off the other words, but last year we called it the I am we are activation. It got too wordy. So I just took off the we are, but the intention is still there in that it's not about recognizing the divinity within us only. It's about recognizing the divinity in all things, God as all there is, the divinity in the dark, the divinity in the perpetrator, the divinity in the person that has hurt you and harmed you. And what's interesting, you're bringing something forward to me that I really appreciate. I love this because I used to say, and this phrase really resonated deep with me, and it's changing now. The darkness serves the light. And I used to
Yeah,
say that all the time. The darkness serves the light. The darkness serves the light. But in other words, the darkness in your own life is serving your own light. And there's so much
yeah.
truth in that. But what you just brought forward for me is even in that, there is still a preference to the light. There is still a
Yes,
pedestaling as
yes,
if the
yes.
light is more important
Whoa.
than the dark.
Yeah, you just blew my mind a little bit because that's exactly what I've been saying for years. Darkness serves the light, and even in the marketing copy of one of my events right now, I have that in there.
See,
But now what you just said, I'm going to change it. Seriously,
I
check
mean,
it out because see like yeah we even when okay so a lot of us think that the light is God or going back to the light and the way it came to me a few months ago I was in Vipassana and I've done that a few times and Vipassana is the 10-day silent meditation retreat so meditating and I'm going through a lot during this process when I was going into it and on like the fourth or fifth day I have the whole download come to me for the shadow workers course right so even though you're not supposed to write, I wrote out the whole course in there. And within that, I saw that I had already done a lot of research on ancient civilizations, and every ancient civilization, um, their origin story always talks about the word sound being in the beginning. Even in the most famous origin story, in the beginning was the word, and then it says that and the light was with the word, and the word came before light, and all of that, right? So there is no. And then I did some other research, and I pulled it up on ChatGPT, and I said, "Hey, research every ancient civilization you can find and tell me which ones talk about God being light." And there was like two. And then I said,
Mm.
research every one that you can tell me that talks about God being sound. And they couldn't give me enough in the list because it would have just
Mm.
been forever, right? And I'd already done some research on that level. So what I figured happened was that there was some frequency, of course, in the beginning, because you and I are frequency. We're not solid beings. We're vibrating frequency. This is not what reality really is. And what happened was when the Big Bang or the split occurred, is it went in both directions. It sped up to become light, it slowed down to become darkness. And
Mm.
so the light represented the harmonious version of that singularity. The darkness represented the chaotic version of that singularity. But through order comes chaos, one of the slogans of the Illuminati. And it's literally all about how darkness is the catalyst for understanding the light in a world where you have amnesia. If you remember the word, then polarity on that level doesn't exist. But if you don't fully remember, like we have on Earth, then you have that contrast. So the light is just the polar opposite. So what I've realized is in that same moment was when I had my eyes closed and I was meditating. People have told me before that the light is so strong that when you switch on a light switch in a dark room, the light runs away, right? That's another
Mm.
phrase that I've heard. And so I'm like contemplating on this, right? And it's been like 4 hours of meditation in darkness, and all of a sudden I see that same scenario in my mind's eye, but I saw the darkness as a little apparition of a shadow, a child's shadow
Mm.
in the corner of the room, quivering in fear. As a different way to look at that analogy, what
Mhm.
really happens is the darkness is so disconnected from the source, so fragmented from the source, it doesn't recognize itself in the polar opposite anymore. And the light, in many ways, doesn't recognize itself in the darkness. But source, God, the frequency, recognizes itself in both.
Mm. I so good. Everything that you just shared. And you probably saw me laughing too, because I did in December a 10-day Vipassana meditation. And I was all of a sudden receiving downloads for this, for here, for this, all these things that they were
Oh,
telling me to
yeah.
change. So I too had a pen and paper and was in my room, like, okay, okay, breaking all the rules.
Yeah.
But
It was so funny. Just like real quick comment on that. There was no service and you're supposed to have your phone off, but I switched my phone on and there was only one tiny bar, right? And the only thing that worked was ChatGPT. So, so I was just getting all this information from it.
that's amazing. I went into it being told that was my first time. How many times have you done it? A few.
Oh, I've done it six
Okay.
times.
Yeah. I went
Mhm.
into it even with my first time. I tuned in and they said, bring a pen, bring a paper. You're going to want to write.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of made it my own, is what I was kind of
Right,
guided to
right.
do.
Yeah, and sometimes I do it differently. Sometimes I go there completely present, leave my
Yeah.
phone, but I always get the deepest of insights,
Yeah.
because to me, Vipassana is a straight up science of consciousness. That what happens is after a few days of not having to use your conscious mind, your subconscious mind starts bleeding into your conscious mind. And all these
Mm.
suppressed thoughts, emotions, feelings start coming to the conscious mind to be processed, right? And I remember the moment where and this was a couple of years ago, where I literally had like one glimpse of a feeling of nirvana, right? And I realized that Buddha was a straight up scientist, like when he figured this thing out.
He really was. It was really fascinating to participate in that experience because I didn't really know prior the original teachings of
Mhm.
Buddha. And I didn't realize how much rooted in science so much of it is.
Yeah,
He was perceiving the quantum nature of reality in his
exactly.
meditations, which is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the kalapas on the body, because Buddha said
Uh-huh.
that there are kalapas, and what would happen for everybody out there listening and who don't know,
Mhm.
I've recommended Vipassana to every person. When anyone says what's the one thing that's helped you the most, is Vipassana, more than any plant medicine, anything like that.
Mm.
And basically, when you're in this meditative state, it's kind of an awake, aware meditation. You're not like going to a trance. You're feeling the sensations of your body. And this also piggybacks into the conversation thus far here. Feeling is healing is literally, and you're feeling your body in a way that you start feeling sensations on your body, and then you start feeling vibrations on your body, and these are called kalapas. And kalapa is translated into English means subatomic particles. So Buddha was saying you feel your body to the point where you get to feel the subatomic particles moving in your body, and then your sankharas, all the impurities of this life and all the other lives are exist in the subatomic particles, which is true. We are quantum beings. We're made of infinite singularities and wormholes. All those infinite singularities and wormholes within us connect to all our multidimensional selves, all of our past lives and incarnations. So by doing this technique, the whole concept is you clear out all of your karma, right, by processing it, and then you reach a state of nirvana, freedom.
And you just made me think of too the Sophia Code, the Hathor Codex. She teaches how our subatomic particles, you can meditate on them to go into and perceive other lifetimes, utilizing them literally as the portals that you've mentioned to
Yes.
multidimensionally travel to our other expressions in the now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And Aaron's asking how do you spell it, so I'll type this while I
Thank you for
speak.
saying Vipassana. Everyone, people correct me to it's Vipassana. I'm like, no, that's not how they
It's
pronounced it.
Vipassana, yeah.
It's Vipassana. It's a
But it
she,
makes sense. It looks like Vipassana,
right?
you know? Yeah, so it's interesting you said that because that is something that I've been really diving into for quite some time because quantum physics is what got me into spirituality in the first place. But in the last couple of years, I've been regaining memories of my ET lives. I regained memories over 2 years ago of my dragon incarnations in Earth and my connection with the dragon beings. And just recently, deep dive into Orion. And some of the things that would come to me is that, for example, souls don't come from the heavens. They don't come from outside. They come from a wormhole inside of the Earth. There's literally a
Mm.
singularity in the core, a wormhole which things come out. The external reality is so much an illusion that when we see things externally reflected, it's quite literally a reflection of the wormhole within. And when I saw myself incarnating into some of my lives in the dragon regression that I had, I try to come from space through a spaceship to Earth, and it wouldn't let me into the atmosphere.
Mm.
And then I had to get into a meditative state, and then all of a sudden I found myself in this wormhole inside of Earth coming out of it. And when I came out of this wormhole, there was a collection of apparitions of dragon spirits all around the wormhole. It was a translucent pool. And when I came out as a baby, one of the dragons caressed me and utilized the womb to put me in the room. And that's another wormhole. You know, if the womb if if the womb was not a wormhole, okay, if the womb was not a wormhole, that means every soul that you have as children that you have, say you had 4 children, that means all 4 of those souls already exist within you, right? But if the womb is a wormhole and you do believe in the soul, then there is some sort of inception, some sort of thing that occurs in order to bring that soul in. And I saw the red dragon tribe had a direct connection with assisting with that birthing process.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. I love that we get to connect with the dragons that have existed on this planet for far beyond any other life forms. And also what I thought of just now when you were sharing, talking about the wormhole, the portal of the womb. It's fascinating. And again, science, I love science. That was a big part of my initiation into much of what we talked about this morning was about the universal laws of creation and quantum mechanics, quantum physics.
Mhm.
But if you take a developing embryo, or even if it's just starting, the cells are starting to multiply, and you take it out and you put it in a tube, it doesn't grow. It requires a womb. It requires the portal, the multidimensional architecture of the actual womb to actually bring life into
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah, exactly. And what I got also recently in the Orion regression I did with my lifetimes in Orion was that there are many ways to enter the simulation. Okay,
Mm.
the womb is one of them. And just imagine it's like a hard drive that has a virtual reality game on the hard drive, right? The hard drive is the universe, the game is our planetary construct. And that game has the realm of ghosts in it, it has other dimensions in it, it has all types of experiences. And then there's different ways people can code and hack to get it within it. You can come as a holographic projection where you can just be an ET projecting yourself. You can go through, you can dream yourself awake from another planet. Like, for
Mm.
example, there's a planet in Sirius where there's a whole entire infrastructure there with beings that are in stasis chambers. And when they put the stasis chamber on, they get birthed onto the planet and they're dreaming themselves onto Earth. When they leave Earth, they wake up on that planet again, you know? So there's all types of different ways to come into the system. However, there is also the veil of forgetfulness.
Mhm.
And even though Earth has the veil of forgetfulness on it, there is a stronger veil of forgetfulness when you come through the womb. The womb has its own code, its own construct of the veil of forgetfulness to help you have amnesia. And just to speak on that for a second, is why did we come here and have amnesia? Because a lot of people, a lot of planets, a lot of people on channel say that there's planets that they don't have amnesia on our level, and we're the only one that has full amnesia on this level. And I see it in a way that we are very advanced beings on this planet. We have achieved so much, and this was not a punishment. This is not a prison planet. This was a gift.
Mhm.
And it was such a gift in a way that obviously you come down here and you forget and you're like, holy crap, why did I choose this? So many
Mhm.
people say that to me. I'm not coming back. I'm like, but what if it's a better world when you come
Mhm.
back? You know?
Mhm.
And so when you're given this gift, it's almost like, wow, we've done so much in the universe. We've created so many things. We've seen so much. We know so much. What is the next thing that we can do to create something that's new and experience something that's different and clock in the hours with Source, which is what Source wanted to experience things infinitely? Well, why don't we wipe our memories clean and then go on to Earth and see if we can still remember who we are? And to me, that is what the Earth experience is.
I love it. That is absolutely what we were talking about this morning as well. I said about 3 or 4 times, this is not a prison planet because the what we were working with is victim consciousness. We
Yeah.
were working to alchemize the victim consciousness that life is happening to me. I didn't choose to be here. I didn't choose any of this into this full sovereign power and really reclaiming our divinity and who we be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I what I love too is in the, the cosmology and in my studies and if the singularity, the one source creator decided to create of itself all shades of existence and reality that we're perceiving now, why? Well, experience. So experience in and of itself being kind of the making us more godlike, if you will, in a lot of ways, the more that we get to experience. And so what does
Yeah.
Earth offer? It offers experience through that veil of forgetfulness. There's a reason why humans are so incredibly creative because we don't have access to our memories of how we've done things in the past. That
Mm.
expands our ability to create because now it's like, and so yeah, we are so much more vast than we
Yes.
realize. And even from
Right.
the yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I'm saying, and like that, what you were saying about us having that creativeness is also like this, like we're divinely inspired. It's coming from
Mhm.
somewhere. That
Mhm.
aura still exists. And what you shared about the prison planet, was coming to me was that we created the prison and we locked ourselves up in it.
I like that. I like
you
that.
know, on some level, because
Got to
we
complete the
wanted to make it
levels.
hard. Yeah, we wanted to make it hard. See,
Yeah.
and the construct, like a huge download came to me recently about the construct, and that's when I got that this construct of earthly experience is not just this third dimension. It's even the fifth dimension. Where we're going, it's still within the virtual reality game. It's
Mhm.
like level 5 of the Mario Kart game. Okay, you're still in Mario Kart. You haven't left. And so, but we have come up with the construct as kind of being something bad because we feel like we're
Mhm.
in a matrix. But constructs are also been created for beautiful experiences. And there's layers of that. There's harmonious versions of everything, right?
Mhm.
And it's almost like the reward for us to go into that harmonious experience is that. But yeah, it's a multi-layered game,
Mhm.
truly. And there are different ways to exit the simulation. And we have created those on the planet. And
Mhm.
Buddha's technique of Vipassana is probably number one. I
Mhm.
would say if you do that, if you do that 2 hours a day for the rest of your life, you're gonna you're gonna leave the simulation.
And honestly, I don't know if any of us really want to leave the simulation.
Exactly.
I believe we all are here because we're supporting in the collective. We are here because
Yes.
we realize how much work we can do, you know, even talking about Zoe, talking and what she was relating to her parents, her mom, right? We incarnated with big soul missions that go beyond just what it is that we're experiencing. Yes, we're here to experience and know ourselves, but also to support other.
Right, exactly. There is nowhere to escape.
Yeah.
You know, like the only way to escape is to be present. But then when you're present, you don't need to escape. That's the universal paradox. And let's not get started on the paradox because we'd be here forever, you know? So that's my favorite
It's one of my
conversation, but
favorite, I was gonna say, it's one of my favorite things.
this is my favorite conversation. Everything is built on the paradox. Partly a reason why I know that we're not as advanced, even though we are paradoxical as well, as we can be, is because our minds cannot fathom a paradox. But we can now prove scientifically it's paradoxical. Quantum physics and Newtonian physics are paradoxical for each other. Quantum physics are the building blocks of the Newtonian world. How can the building blocks for the Newtonian world be paradoxical to what it builds?
Hmm.
It's got to go by the same laws of physics, right? What's happening? Why are they creating all these experiments with quantum technology and including in CERN and quantum computing? I mean, I just did a deep dive on what quantum computing is doing, and oh my God, but the thing is, no one knows how it's doing it. We're utilizing the technology.
Mhm.
We're realizing that when you spin a subatomic particle at this rate, at this speed, and then you spin another subatomic particle next to it, and then you put that particle anywhere in the universe, and then you code this particle, you can instantaneously pull data at the other particle immediately,
Amazing.
right? And they're
Quantum
like,
entanglement.
I don't know how it's happening, but it's happening, you know?
Quantum entanglement, right? And that's why I say, like, you know, earlier this or yesterday, we were talking about like the Big Bang, right? If we were all one in within the singularity, and then we became the many, the all, the vast, well, we
Yes.
are all still interconnected beyond time and space within the quantum fabric of reality.
Yeah, yeah, because that Big Bang, that oneness, that singularity is always existing.
Mhm.
Because when the Big Bang even happened, time didn't even exist. The motion of time began after that. Now, I'd like to go back to one of your other points that you said about experiencing, right? And I want to talk about experience and spiritual bypassing
Mm.
and other agendas. Okay, so like when sometimes when you say that, well, everything is here to experience, it's almost like I've had this accusation made at me many times in the years that by saying that kind of thing, especially with my friends, because I would use it to say, well, I'm late or something, you know, like everything happens for a reason. And um, it's almost like, well, if everything's to experience, then why take any action towards holding people accountable for anything, you know, if everything happens the way it should happen. So the original intention of Source was to experience itself infinitely, but the intention of Source was to allow free will from its creation. And its creation was then allowed to inflict its own agendas on creation. So Source fragmented, and let's even though I don't like to use hierarchy, let's say it's the highest of dimensions at that one point. And those beings that started coalescing and creating in that started living in a free will reality where they could then inflict their own intentions and agendas. So there's a lot of like even biblical stories that are based on star beings. There's a lot of spiritual teachings that are telling you how to live and philosophies. A lot of those are coming from the beings that fragmented from source that were given the free will to inflict the agenda. I don't mean that in a negative way, even though some of these agendas have been nefarious, right? And so even though it's to experience, it's also up to us to do what we feel is right for us, right? And the universe, if there is one thing that the universe does tilt towards, I would say is harmony, right? The universe is universe. It's a song. It's literally all about harmony. The universe wants to be harmonious. Harmony in general is not always chaotic. Harmony in general isn't always nefarious agendas. Harmony is us living in peace, in unity, in transparency. And the only way we can do that, you know, another analogy is that the way I see it is that when we go to another dimension, we quite literally going through a wormhole, the wormhole within us. So imagine hundreds of years ago, there's this wormhole, and we're all the way on the ends of the wormhole. We're spinning around it very slowly because we're so far away from the event horizon. It takes lifetimes to get the same lessons, right? And then some of us lived in communities where we literally didn't go more than 2 to 3 miles away from our house for like most of our lives, right? Now, fast forward to our reality now. You can be in another country within hours.
Mhm.
You're literally being bombarded with text messages and notifications and telemarketers every second, and you're getting just all this stimuli happening, and these lessons and experiences that used to take lifetimes for us to get. We're being smacked on the face every single moment with those lessons. And what are they? They're opportunities for us to transcend and to learn the lessons because we cannot go through the event horizon with our baggage from this dimension. So what the harmony of the next dimension is going to be, maybe for some a little just uncomfortable, maybe for some there's going to be some challenges because a lot of things that we've stored deep in our own consciousness are now coming to the surface. But it's not just us, it's the collective of humanity. But then it's not just humanity. I like to say that Earth is a galactic mental hospital. We are processing the trauma for the whole galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. It's actually more like so much chaos has happened, really, and so much drama has happened, and especially since the humanoid template came into our galaxy.
Mhm.
And we have collected so much, there's been so much separation, division, conflict, and Earth is almost like the final frontier, believe it or not, instead of space being the frontier, Earth is for
It's true.
for us for us to work out these traumas,
Uh-huh.
and our DNA is connected to all of the beings in our galaxy because we are the one planet that has the repository, the Library of Alexandria of DNA of the whole galaxy.
Mhm.
There is no planet that has this many species in our galaxy, and every single species in our galaxy has donated DNA here. So what happens as we all learn the lessons and re-encode our own DNA is it multidimensionally branches out to all of the other beings that are our ancestors
Mhm.
and our descendants because that's how time works. And we are then creating harmony throughout the galaxy through our own ability to create harmony on Earth and our own
Mhm.
ability to live in peace with all of people on Earth and all the animals and insects as well.
I love that. And I've been speaking into that and sharing that and a belief that I've held for a very long time that Earth, I love calling it a mental hospital. I've always said it's like the rehab, and it really has been as different planets have Maldek and different planets, Mars, we've brought all of those fragments here to continue playing out consciousness. But yeah, I've always said that what we're doing here, the divine Earth experiment, if you will, is an experiment in not just world peace, but universal peace. And
Yeah,
what we
exactly.
do here is meant to reverberate out and make waves across the entire universe. And
Exactly.
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and we did a whole 3-part series on our YouTube channel. It
Mm.
was like 3 hours each. It was the theme was called "Getting Over Galactic Speciesism," and it was literally about how racism on the planet, reptilians, and different beings.
Mm.
There's a reason why we're going to meet beings that look like us at first,
Mhm,
you know.
mhm,
But there's actually it's interesting because there's some soul. There's two types of ancestry in the universe. There's DNA ancestry for the physical appearance, okay, and then there's soul ancestry. So you could be in, and there's a combination of both. So you could be, for example, I've had 3 lives as a full-on reptilian, and with hardly any human DNA, if none at all. Some of them were before you know, the
mhm.
human DNA came, and but that's my soul. You know, so
Wow.
it's like when we start realizing how souls are working and the incarnation process works, and we start getting over, the microcosm of the microcosm is seeing the division and the separation in the other on Earth, right? When we start shifting from that, we're going to start opening up to a whole new understanding of the external world. One of the things I like to talk about a lot recently is the reptilians, and there's only 5% of all reptilian beings. Serpentine beings is what they like to be called.
Okay.
And serpentine beings, there's only 5% of them that have nefarious agendas. The other 95% of them are just pretty much observing. And
Mhm.
a good percentage of those serpentine beings are, guess what? Dragons. So you don't consider a dragon a reptilian because you're thinking of them in such a good way. But do you know who the ancestors are to all reptilians? The dragons,
Mhm.
including the ones that infiltrated our matrix, you know? And when you go far back enough and you see what had happened and how the wounds first occurred in the universe, you then start realizing like who is the one that cast the first stone,
Mhm.
right? And then you can shift into a higher perspective of what was the outcome from someone casting that first stone, and then the wars happening and millennia and millennia passing by, where now no one even knows what they're fighting for anymore,
Mhm.
right? And they're just playing out this like separation game, right? And then ultimately that separation game came to Earth, and it gave Earth the opportunity to have the largest dips in consciousness ever created. Okay. And because we had the largest dips in consciousness ever created, all of a sudden all these souls came to Earth. Why? Oh my God, if I have amnesia and I have the largest dip on Earth, oh, I now have the possibility to have the highest of highs and
Mhm.
regain source
Mhm.
consciousness. And if I regain source consciousness while I'm in a physical body, we can create something completely different.
Mhm.
How can we have a multidimensional body connected to all dimensional aspects while still living in a physical realm and not being non-person personified, right? So I'm rambling a little here, but what I'm getting at is that even the bad stuff ended up creating something, I would say, good.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've actually said that as it relates to the divine earth experiment, that we had I say we, as, and I do believe I was in part of the design of what we're participating in here. And it's like, how, maybe not everything that happened was exactly according to plan, but just radical and immense, like the divine human and how we were originally created in our 12th dimensional strand. And then that disconnection that we underwent. And it's like we can sit there and look at that as something that happened to us, or we can say, because it wasn't maybe a part of our original divine plan, but maybe it was. Maybe again, that divine orchestration outside of and zooming out in perspective and just recognizing what a gift even that is.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just so much prefer that perspective. Um,
Exactly. I was reading a book today, and it was talking about how Satan, Lucifer, in the Bible, in the Garden of Eden, had actually exposed a grandiose kind of sense of being from God and the beings in Eden, and it showed a shadow version of basically that incarnation. It it represented saying and basically calling out source, calling out that agenda, because God in the Bible, Old Testament, isn't source. It's
right.
actually beings that might have had good intentions. And if we have some time and moment, I'll talk about the ET connection there.
Yeah.
But basically, it showed the polar opposite version of that, rather than it was almost like a spiritual bypass. Oh, we are so holier than thou. This is what we are. But it
Mhm.
showed the other side of polarity, and then it gave the opportunity. It gave the giving the apple from the tree of knowledge to Eve, even if it did happen like that, was actually an opportunity to experience free will. It
Mhm.
said, God wants to be a dictator, wants to tell you that you cannot experience whatever you want to experience. And you have the opportunity to choose. Do you want to stay here or do you want to know yourself, right? But the only way to know yourself after you leave the Garden of Eden is to wipe your memories clean and then go through the darkness. And and I'm a sucker for analogies, so here's another one. And the only way, like the way the world works, in my opinion, is that, the whole concept of there's light at the end of the tunnel. That's pretty much Earth. And but you need to go through the tunnel to get there,
Mhm.
you know? And yes, you can transcend, you have soul agreements, you have karmic agreements, you come down as a star seed that's already awoken, all of these things exist. But that was pretty much how the construct works.
You made me just think too about Tom T. Moore's work. Tom's actually speaking this year, and I call him my spiritual grandpa, and I love his body of work. He is a telepath, and he telepathically communicates to. He's got one of his, I forget what the term that he uses, one of his soul family, but literally within his soul, monadic soul blueprint, who's in a ship, a Syrian ship outside, and he's always bringing forth really fascinating information, and I just love his work. But he also shared too around a couple things as it relates to what we're talking about. Earth specifically, he said our scientists haven't discovered it yet, but the majority of our universal system are created in these 10 strands of positive energy frequency. He said we've tried many different planetary systems. We've tried to work with these four negative ones and we failed. And Earth is the very first one so far that has succeeded in that. And he even shares that we're meant to be they call the explorer race. And about 5,000 years, give or take, timeline shifting and moving constantly. But as of right now, we are meant to all leave Earth and travel to respective planets carrying that consciousness, the darkness that serves the light. And what he literally says is that most planetary systems have achieved a 5.6 or 6.3 level of consciousness, and they've kind of stuck. They're stagnant because they die and they remember their lives, and they're just kind of doing the same things over and over again. And what we're going to offer is this tiny bit of darkness, this tiny bit of gold alchemy, right? The substance of higher consciousness. And we're going to bring that to their planets so that they can, and again, just kind of that reverberation of impact of what we're doing here and how it's going to trickle around.
I agree. I feel that too. I feel that our lessons that we're learning on Earth, we're going to go out and teach. And on one level, we are the ancestors to our ancestors. Okay, because these dimensions weren't even created. These lower dimensions, the ones that created them are our ancestors. They had the tools, the technology, and they created these other dimensions. They created life in these dimensions, and then they fragmented their own souls from a place of knowing into our bodies, right? And then we started this life here. But in our reality, we have linear time. So now we're moving forward in linear time. But as we move forward in linear time, we end up going into the same dimensions that they created us from. And when we go into those dimensions, guess where we go? To the planets of the beings that created us in the first place. And who do we eventually become? Those beings. And I'm not sure if it's going to be the same story, but we become the Pleiadians. We become all of this. They literally went back in time and seeded their own ancestors.
I see everybody. I see faces. Jessica's over there like wide-eyed, like, okay, yeah. I love it. I get so lost in our sauce right here. And then all of a sudden I just looked up in Jessica's face.
Yeah. Well, it's true. Like to me, I've really just wanted to know how time works, right? And I know we're almost over, so I'll just share this. Okay. That I was looking at when I started the story of the Anunnaki, the stories of the Lyrians, Pleiadians, Syrian connection on the seeding of Earth. The Lyrian, Pleiadian, Syrian story is actually the Garden of Eden story. God is the Lyrians, the snake are the Syrians, and the Pleiadians were the reluctant geneticists. They didn't want to help at first, right? And I was seeing all these stories and seeing like, well, are these all overlapping? How did this happen so many times? They said this was 100,000 years ago. How did Atlantis exist worldwide 20,000 years ago when there was definitely primitive species on Earth, right? So what I'm starting to realize now is that we're collapsing timelines, that there are many Earths, and a lot of us are coming from different timeline versions of Earth into this reality right now, because in the third dimension, there's many different Earths. In the fifth dimension, there's not as many. They collapse and there's less experiences. So a lot of us actually have different backstories than you might have experienced.
I love this so much because I had a group program. I still have it, but it's not. But it was 2 years ago when I first launched it, called the New Earth Ascension Academy, and I was dead set on doing a module around our history, the Earth's history, or galactic history, as best as I could, deliver it from the information sources that I found to be most accurate and resonant. But there was still so much uncertainty, and in this delivery and the curation of this module, they came in and they were like, look, you have to understand that there are infinite timeline realities, kind of like what's that? I can't remember what it's called when we shift timelines and then the things that we used to remember are no longer the same. And we're experiencing that more and more, where it's like the cereal we ate has a totally different logo right? I forget what you call those, but
the Mandela effect.
Yes. Yeah. And so again, this understanding of the infinite timelines and histories that actually exist, and the fact that it's continuously changing and evolving. And so it was just a really interesting. So I love that you're sharing that, because that's essentially kind of what I was receiving receiving, that, yeah, the collapsing of timelines that no longer serve and the anchoring into new timelines, which means the history changes as a result too.
Yeah. Exactly. Earth is the biggest light show in the universe. And it's not an arrogant, it sounds arrogant to say on some level, but it's not, because a lot of these beings are our family. They're watching what's going to transpire on Earth. And part of the thing is like, I call myself a hopeless hopeful. I'm hopelessly hopeful because I just can't help but know that everything's going to be okay, that we're not going to be screwed. We have too much assistance and guidance and support. We didn't even get into the mainstream narratives of what's happening with UFOs and the disclosure there and the new whistleblowers that came out talking about mantis beings and reptilians, retired Air Force generals. Everything that we've said in this world, even the deeply esoteric, just in the last few months has been validated even by governments. And there's this whole world that is coexisting with us. It's not even a dimension away. It's literally here now. They are existing, they're interacting. People have communication with them. They're crafts behind closed doors. You can, if you had the manpower and the military force, you could go through that door and find out what it is. You know what I'm saying? This exists, and so this world, as we know it, it's going to shift very, very rapidly. Not only with this awareness and this technology that's hundreds of years in the future, right? But when we understand our ancestry to these beings, when we understand what religion really is and spirituality, when we understand the energy grid and power and how these beings are getting here from other planets and dimensions compared to what we use, right? Anti-gravity from a leaked document from the CIA was mastered by the government in 1957. Okay, so the technology that they have and that is right here for us right now, plus AI on top of that, game over. This reality is going to shift very, very quickly.
Open
So,
contact and
like,
then
exactly. So I'm
yeah.
excited. I'm excited for what's to happen. I feel that a lot of us have relied or are too dependent. A lot of people maybe not in the know on this old paradigm. So when it starts crumbling, we've relied on this old paradigm so much that we don't recognize ourselves with something else because people have identified with what they do for work. People identify with their bank accounts. They identified with all the fake persona of who they are and what they watch on TV. And ultimately, no matter what, as long as you have food, water, shelter, and connection, you'll still be alive, you know, for the most part.
For the
And
most
so
part.
as these systems crumble, so some of us don't need shelter if we're in a nice tropical beach.
Yes,
So
yeah.
as soon as these systems start crumbling, there may be a lot of fear around it, but that's why what really matters is your perspective. If you realize that what you really need are these core things, and if this other paradigm shifts, you're still going to be okay. It's just going to give us an opportunity to create a new world, and that's why we all do this work, I feel. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that you call yourself hopelessly hopeful, but the reality is we are future time travelers and we know that we've succeeded. That there and now we're just kind of playing out the free will experience of what's continuing to unfold. But I feel like our success is inevitable. And that's what I believe we're collapsing the timelines that were contrary to that. If
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
And I also believe too that so many of us are going through the tumultuous waters, the dark nights of the soul, this because we are meant to be the way showers. Because as things like open contact, I don't expect disclosure, but open contact from our government, slowly trickle dripping. I'll take it. That's fine. But things like actual open contact, which we will see in our lifetime. I feel that in every cell of my body. I mean, things like that. I feel that this is another thing that Tom Moore brings through around Yellowstone erupting in the next couple of years and the deaths that will come from that. There's some things that are going to be very scary for the masses. And so everyone here on this call, listening to the replays of thousands of people that have registered, we are preparing ourselves. We're becoming very masterful in our energy and anchored in our truths, so that when the rest of the world feels like chaos and the uncertainty is
Yes.
swirling around us, we can become those
Yes.
pillars of light in our families and our communities, and
Mhm.
knowing it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna get through this.
Exactly, yes. And I feel that that what you're saying is something that really holds true to my heart as well. Is something I've been saying recently is like I want to be at a place that I'm so at peace with myself that the chaos outside of me cannot affect how I feel internally. And that's why I'm doing the shadow workers course and different things in darkness and light, is for us to become that. It's literally becoming the stillness in the storm, right? And the more of us that become the stillness in the storm then ends up becoming still as well. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we get that collective shift.
Absolutely. And another thing that you mentioned very early on in the call, which is a perfect segue into your links and everything else, is I, I'm like you. I love information. I've been a teacher in every single, earthly and cosmic order. I love to teach and share and impart wisdom.
Yeah.
And also that only gets you so far, and they're telling me go deeper, and it's time to go into embodiment. It's time to go deep down.
Yes.
And so here we are, I am activation. We're activating these source codes, these truths of who we be. And previous years it's been more of a meditative activation, and this year they're like, no, it's time to go into the body, into the nervous system, into the shadow, into the resistance, into the parts work, all of the places and spaces within us that say, no, we can't be that, we can't have that, we can't do that, that keep us in that limitation, which is exactly the shadow work, right? And we got to do that too. First we got to do the cleansing, clearing, the purification, because we can never truly embody these truths without that. So yeah, I feel like the year of the snake, shadow work, it's feels
Yeah.
more important. There's probably people on this call like, oh, I've been doing that for 10 years.
So funny. I was just thinking that too, because I was thinking as you're sharing that a lot of people think that there's the Saturn's return. The first one is the major shadow work. And a lot of times we feel like we've gone through it. But there's deeper things because even if our shadow work, we could have done dealt with some core wounds. But when we look at the external reality and there's certain things in the external reality that trigger us, and we can't be like, how can you still be at peace with yourself when you see atrocities, but still take informed action to make sure that atrocity is corrected,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I love
It's
that.
different
Not
layers.
not being oh, what's the word? Oh, I can't.
Docile,
What is it?
like don't be docile to the atrocities. Is that
Yeah,
what
or
you're saying?
apathetic is
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
yeah, don't be
exactly.
apathetic to what's going on. Oh no, it's for our greatest good, everyone chose that, this is serving, this is what we're having,
Right.
but still taking that action to create the world in which to dream the dream awake.
Yeah, a good example is that the prison system, right? And I do a whole presentation on practical changes on Earth, and I do one thing on the prison system.
Mm.
And what happens right now is like we get so angry at the people that we just lock them away. We don't look at their childhood. We don't look at trauma. We don't rehabilitate. And for someone who got a DUI many years ago and went to jail for 10 days, I had to freaking join a gang. I literally had to join a gang in county jail to get a pillow and a toothbrush.
Wow.
Okay? And it was freaking insane. And I just went there for DUI when I was like 21. And so what I'm getting at is that like they literally have created a system that just perpetuates more criminality and makes people feel more disconnected. And if we stop looking at people like that, but realizing again, hurt people, what is the root of it all? Why do you feel so disconnected? How do we bring you back to feeling whole?
Mhm.
And a great example is one of the tribes in Africa that when someone does something wrong or what they consider criminal, they throw them in the middle of the circle and they beat them. No, I'm just kidding. They don't beat them.
I was like, that's not the
They
story
throw
I
them in the
know.
middle. They throw them in the middle of the circle and they say all the things that they are great about, how much they love them, why they're great. They remind them of who they are as a family member, and they just shower them with love to remind them that they're a great person, you know?
Which is so beautiful. That's really what we need, you guys. We were talking about that earlier today. We just want to be seen. We want to be understood. We want people to acknowledge us. Accepting us would be awesome too. But baby steps.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's why we got these safe spaces. Oh, I think this question may have misunderstood. We did have a question. The only question that came through, but it was directly to me. She said, how can you be apathetic when your child is hurt or mistreated? Anise, I just want to share. I don't think we were meaning that apathy is good, actually. I think we
Yeah.
were saying that apathy, we don't want to be apathetic. We want to be compassionate, which Zoe was bringing that forward for us earlier. In other words, not just saying, oh, I empathize with you, but what can I do? How can I help? How can I serve? How can I support what you're going through?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because right now is the best time for the shadow work because so much is going to be exposed. In the last couple of years, lots been exposed, but I'm telling you that we haven't even scratched the surface of what's being exposed. A lot of the institutions, a lot of the entertainment industry, a lot of what we considered, we're going to realize was rotten to the core,
Mm-hmm.
that it was just created based on falsities and what we would consider atrocities. And they're trying a lot, really hard to not show it all, but it's going to come out. And when we see that, what everything that we based the whole reality on, what we think, the people that we held in high regard and celebrities and all that are going to crumble down. And I feel many people probably on here don't have that celebrity stardom, but a lot of people in the world do.
Yeah.
They aspire to be like people. They envy others and things like that. But what does this do? We're ending the end of the Kali Yuga. The end of the Kali Yuga was the age of hierarchy and authority. The end of hierarchy and authority will only happen if we crumble hierarchy and authority.
Mm-hmm.
So what is happening now is the universe is deliberately showing us the underbelly of society so that we can stop holding other people as better than us or holier than us
Mm-hmm.
and realize that we are our own messiahs. We're our own prophets.
Yeah, I love that. Recognizing the guru within each of us and the reclamation of our own sovereign power. And it really is time. I feel like this is the day and age where, yes, we have mentors, yes, we have teachers, but they are meant to just be mirrors and uplifting guides to help us see and recognize our own divinity within, even with our spirit guides, even with our interdimensional star family, right? There was a period where,
Yes.
go ahead.
No, I was snapping my fingers for you because I
Yeah,
was
yeah. I will, and it kind of coming back around, right? Like I remember that period in time where I, even myself, the identity that we have, I started to uncover all these lives on Earth. Then I started to uncover all of these embodiments across the multiverse, and then I realized I didn't even come from this universe. And then I started getting, I was like, oh, okay. And then it came to the top, Source, God, Creator, and it's interesting. I see, and we can see it can be another egoic loop, as you were mentioning, even the races. Oh, I'm a Palladian. Oh, reptilian. That's bad. I remember I did last year, we did this, a muscle testing fun thing with starseed types. And I did that years ago, and I had received that I had reptilian in me, and I got scared like 5 years ago. I was like, oh no, was I bad? Was I something? What did I do? And so it just tickles me now to realize, yeah, heck yeah, I spent some time in Orion. Yep. I
yeah.
definitely did. And yeah, just the spiritual ego and how it wants to claim and hold on to the identity of who we be.
Don't you everything you say just opens up a whole new
I know
wormhole
we
of
could keep going.
information, so you got to stop, Lacey, taking me
No,
too
this is
deep
what we're
here,
here
you know.
for.
So, like, I would just say this. I don't know, but just because I said that, I forgot what I was gonna say, so we'll skip it. Let's keep moving on.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. Just so much goodness. I mean, man, Neil, you're incredible. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for I hear what you said around, feeling like you need to produce and you need to be a doer, a doing, and just constantly in creation and constantly in service. And I honor the fact that you have taken some time to pause and reevaluate, and I love that we get to everyone here, like we're all doing the work still, right? Like that's something that I really witnessed within both of your shares. Like last year wasn't easy for many people. It was not easy for me. And if you've been in this journey for 20 years and you struggled last year, it doesn't mean you did anything wrong or you deserved it. It means we are really going into deep purification. As Neil was saying earlier, those really simple lifetimes where we lived miles away from we're living like 15 of those lifetimes in this one lifetime.
Hmm.
So give yourself compassion, give yourself grace. Like we're doing, I mean, this is the crumbling. Like all the structures must crumble, and that feels like chaos. It really does. But what I love is that it's perceived chaos because chaos
Yeah,
doesn't really exist.
exactly.
There's
Yeah.
only order, divine order.
Right, right. It's a whole new restructuring of society and civilization. New countries are going to come about on Earth as well. New ways of living.
It's exciting. I'm excited. I don't know about you guys, but I'm thrilled. There's versions of us that are living, 5,000 years in the future right now that are like, yeah, this is what we've been working for. So, all the links have been popped in there, it looks like. Thank you so incredibly much. We've got Portal to Ascension. You can go check out all of the amazing content that he has available there. Replays. You can still, I think they just finished up the Orion conference, his Instagram. He's got a code, use PTA 100 for the
Yeah, and the code, somebody just said it's not working, so I'm fixing the code right in the
cool.
second. So actually,
Okay.
no, I'm sorry. It's the secret 100. The secret 100.
The secret.
And it's a secret, guys, so don't give it out to anybody, okay?
Is it the secret or just secret?
The secret 100.
Okay.
Okay.
Alondra, note that for me so I can change that on the website, please. And I love that we're pretty much on the same page because I haven't introduced it to them yet, but I do have a program that I'm offering called Soul Alchemy that is essentially a shadow work program. But I also know that there are people here that are listening to this replay or potentially on live that are like, nope, Neil is my person. And I would love to go deeper and further with you specifically. So please, if you, I would love for you to share a little bit about this program that you've created. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I'm actually gonna pull it up. Do I have like 2 minutes?
you do.
Okay,
We're
cool.
gonna make you a co-host. There you go.
Yeah. So, oh, I can share the screen?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. There we go. Do you see this?
It says, there you go. Yep, we do.
Okay. Let me just, my computer's been acting up lately, so let me just get this
Me
right.
too. Yesterday was a
Okay.
technology surrendering into technology.
So this is okay, a 3-month course, and it's going to start in August. And we've shared a lot of it today, and even what Zoe was speaking about is just so in alignment with this concept here. But I'm just going to read a little bit from here and speak about it. It's an immersive deep dive into metaphysics of light and darkness. So we're going to start out with going through the science of how the Big Bang and singularity created the two, how they coalesced into lower dimensions. This will be the first class. And then what happened to create polarity, light and dark, because pol singularity became duality, but polarity didn't come until later. And
Mm.
and the duality also eventually became male and female. And the male has now archetypally been represented by the light because this father son, and the female has been archetypally done by the darkness. And I don't mean this in any polarized way. I mean it like the light of the sun is an excretion or an ejaculation of light, whereas a wormhole is basically the womb or the vaginal component that takes in the light. It's literally an archetypal energy of pulling energy in, pulling energy out, just like, and what we are literally personifications of the archetypal energy. We're suns and wormholes incarnated on Earth. So we're going to start with that. But this is going to be only really, I put a lot in here who this course isn't for because it's going to really require a lot of interaction.
Mm.
There's going to be days where a couple of hours where you're not allowed to use your phone at home and you're going to just sit with your thoughts and then write down what comes up and we're going to speak about it vulnerably. This is going to be radical vulnerability on a level that I probably haven't even done in this group setting with anyone for a long, well, except for my close friends. And then the people that I have joining, including Zoe Davenport, are people that I've worked with for years and are really, really good. Just people that I appreciate so much within this understanding. Lori Annette, who's on the call right now, she is an Orion starseed, and she also does a lot on reptilian energy, the shadow work, what happened in Orion, and the balancing of that energy. Zoe, you got to experience, so just imagine her in a course format. Raquel is going to be doing the astrology of the shadow work and Saturn's return coming back. Geraldine will be speaking about DNA reprogramming and tools and techniques in order to shift the timelines. And then Andrew here will be doing breath work. So there's going to be breath work, there's going to be chanting, there's going to be open discussions. We're going to have a weekly WhatsApp or Telegram group, accountability partners. And even though I have always been anti-homework. I have no idea why, guys. I'm creating homework for this one. I have to do it because honestly, like to do this kind of a thing, it's not just let's just show up every week.
Mm-hmm.
And the homework isn't that hard. It's more about like this week you're going to sit for two hours, and there's also going to be one session that's going to be split where there's going to be a women's group in one of the 8 sessions run by one of the women that are going to be helping me with this, and then there'll be a men's group as well. Out of the 8 classes, so 7 altogether, and then one that's going to be split. So if you guys are interested, this is the first course I've ever created because if you know anything about Portal Ascension, it's just like conferences, events, webinars. I did one sound course before, but if you want to really be a part of this first experience here and just do some deep, deep work with us in a sacred container, please do join. And we are limiting this to only 33 people because we want to make sure we have an intimate group that we can all connect and communicate and get to know each other.
I think that's incredible. I love everything that you shared. I love the intentionality behind it. I love even the home play. I call it, home play, homework.
I like that,
I
yes.
loved school, like loved it, loved it.
I hate
So
it.
to me, homework, I'm like, yeah. But I call it for other people, home play, right? That kind of switch from yeah,
Making it
this,
daunting to making it fun.
right, exactly. Like school can be fun. Maybe it wasn't fun for everybody, but there's some fun aspects. So
Right. Plus, for this one, it's like when you do this work and you sit through it and you really get to know what comes up for you, like there's going to be a whole practice on figuring out what your distractions are. What do you go to in order to avoid feeling? Okay. I've had many different things over my life, but now it's my phone, right? And it's certain apps on my phone. So guess what? I have an app blocker from 4 a.m. to 11 a.m. The only app I can check on my phone is WhatsApp. And honestly, it sucked a couple times because I've been stranded without the ability to connect to Uber.
oh no.
But I figured it out, you know? But I'm just saying, like, I'm being funny here, but what I'm saying is that we're going to really go deep into figuring out the practical things of really how do we distract ourselves and how do we come back to really feeling what we're trying to avoid.
Fantastic. And I love again the group aspect. There I was sharing and I will continue to share. There's something really special about the group work that I think is actually necessary. It can be often the missing piece for so many of us doing the work, being seen, being heard, being witnessed in vulnerability, in our authenticity, in our most painful experiences or revelations is so healing and so cathartic.
Yeah.
So,
And could I just say something about the Pythagoras free gift?
yeah.
Okay, so if you guys, please do sign up. It's free. It's so fun. I've done many presentations, but this is the deepest dive, like completely humbly speaking here, like the deepest dive on the life of Pythagoras you'll ever get. It's a 3 hour expose on the frequencies, his school that he created, how he was looking for the frequency of God and how that started his whole process to look for geometry. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have arches, we wouldn't have bridges. You know, how he traveled the world and discovered, and he basically coalesced information that was 10,000 years old from all over the world into one practical solution for us to use now. Say, for example, the Pythagorean triangle existed everywhere, but India had a little piece of it, Babylon had a little piece,
Mm.
Egypt had a little piece. He went and traveled everywhere from age 5, collected all this data and coalesced it into the reason why we wouldn't even have chakra singing bowls if it wasn't for Pythagoras. Tuning forks wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Pythagoras. He resurrected all this awareness from the ancient times. We're going to talk about him being vegan and how people hated that
Mm.
when he was in Greece because they're like, why the heck is this guy vegan? You know? So it'll be fun, but it's really eye-opening as well about our history and how civilization as we know it has been created.
Amazing. Guys, as you can tell, an absolute deep well of wisdom and knowledge, both earthly, inner earthly, and beyond galactic. So, I did you get to share the link for your program if you would like? Oh, yep, you did.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, she
Awesome.
did. And here's Pythagoras again, and I'll post it one
Yeah.
more time.
Yeah. Awesome. Beautiful. Neil, this was genuinely such a pleasure, so
Thank you.
much fun, and I'm so incredibly honored that you were a yes to this. And it I was saying this with Zoe earlier, and it's true. The little spiritual newbie Lacey from like 7-8 years ago that was just trying to find my way and found y'all's bodies of work. It's like one of those fangirl moments where no longer do I look up to celebrities and people, but you guys are definitely people worth looking up to, and
Thank you.
it's really an honor to be here with you today and get to connect with you in this way.
I appreciate that very much. And I don't know how long I've been following your Instagram, but I've checked out your videos and what you've been doing, and your frequency, your energy, the way you convey your information is just so beautiful and so
Thank
radiant.
you.
And I just appreciate you. So I feel the same way about you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So much. I appreciate you deeply. You guys, this man is wonderful. And it sounds like he's moving from the information into the embodiment, which I believe is a kind of a collective invitation for us all. So connect with Neil, portaltoascension.org, his Instagram, and yeah, take advantage of the free gift and check out that program. It sounds absolutely incredible. It sounds like it starts in August. So you got some time to feel into, but there's only 33 spots. So feel into whether or not that's alignment for you. And if so, I fortune favors action, right? Like true transformation comes. And I swear, when we choose like a program like that, like anything that you invest in, that's an investment of your time, money, energy, the moment that you say yes to it, it is a choice point. And you are choosing a whole new set of timelines that open up to you. You don't even have to be in the experience yet of that program or the experience. Simply by saying yes, all of a sudden, you will start to see and witness shifts in your life because you said yes to
Yeah,
yourself.
that's so true. Thank you, Lacey.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. We'll see
Here.
you tomorrow back here
Bye.
again for day 3. Y'all have a beautiful night.